today with MILAM TV, and I have President and Founder Mike Mowins with Vetted Tech.
Thank you, Kimberly. Glad to be here with you today.
Yay. Well, Mike, you and I have met, I guess, a few years ago.
Yes.
At an America Makes event.
Yes.
And we had several fabulous conversations since then, and I became aware of your little company in Syracuse, New York.
Yes.
Right? In the Syracuse area of New York. But what I was most fascinated by was your origin story and how all of this came together. I had no idea what a wealth of information and knowledge you have. So would you mind sharing with the rest of the world now what your origin story is and how you got Vetted Tech started?
Certainly. Vetted Tech has really got one purpose in life. It's there to give back to our warfighters and our veterans. I came out of the United States Naval Academy physically disabled, didn't get a chance to serve, had my queue lined up at Pensacola to fly, and was discharged at graduation due to a physical disability. And I've always tried to give back to the veteran community, whether it's through the Alumni Association for the Naval Academy, where I served as president for the Boston chapter and the San Diego chapter, and also give back through what I do in industry, working in the pump and valve industry for a number of years, and then acting as the president of the Phillips Screw Company, the original inventors of the Phillips screw and driver back in the 1930s.
Wow.
Managing 140 licensed companies around the world that did everything from the screws that hold your deck together to a venture we did to put better fasteners for aircraft with Tinker Air Force Base in a SBIR program. So we've done a lot of very different things in my career and worked with a lot of great people. And then when I retired out of Phillips, I was looking for something else to do, a better way to give back. I'd been exposed to additive manufacturing when I was working at Phillips, and I was the small business liaison to the Aerospace Industries Association Executive Management Committee, which is made up of all the VPs of supply chain for the primes. And I was at a cocktail party with the CEO of Honeywell, and he was then the VP of procurement, and he said to me, one of the challenges we've got is I'm going to need 2,000 additive manufacturing machines in my supply chain in the next 2 years. And that was kind of the green light for me when I retired to say additive might be a good industry. And so when I started, I can contribute something. And so when I started the company in 2019, my goal was to start an additive manufacturing firm that would build parts to support our warfighters. It would be staffed entirely by warfighters. My technical director is an absolutely fantastic young gentleman who had 550 days in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And is a Syracuse University graduate. Just an amazing young man. He's running the shop this week, by the way. And so we're here really to find the right pathway to support our warfighters with the finest technology in additive manufacturing.
Well, knowing you as I have come to, I know you absolutely will deliver on that promise. And one of the, things that happened last year, I had the distinct pleasure to interview Rear Admiral Jason Lloyd, who stood before the same group of people and talked about how additive manufacturing was his moonshot.
Yes.
And I think you know as I do, since that time, his leadership and that of many others who also believe have deployed a series of training programs and attempting to get parts and other things made with an additive manufacturing focus. And I think you have been a part of that in the early parts of it. And I wondered if you could describe, when you think about the additive manufacturing industry and where it is now and where it's going, can you talk to me a little bit about Vetted Tech's play in this new Navy world of additive manufacturing and what that moonshot looks like to you?
Yeah, we are a service bureau, a service solution provider in additive, and so the moonshot that Admiral Lloyd talked about was one that is certainly reachable, and the constraints that you're going to find are, it's great to have capacity and you can make an awful lot of parts on the exact same machine over and over again. But as a solution provider for various numbers of industries, including Department of Energy, Sandia National Labs, and others, we see different parts all the time. And because of that, we have a unique capability with agility that makes us a better solution going forward for the Navy and the submarine base, because ultimately they're going to need a part that somebody may have seen before, may never have seen before, but they need it yesterday, or they need it within 2 days. And our ultimate goal within what we're trying to do at Vetted Tech is to be able to say, okay, skipper's going to call me, the CAG's going to call me, the tank commander's going to call me and say, we broke this. I need it now. I want to be able to have that part 3D printed and sitting on my dock waiting for them when their ship, aircraft carrier, CAG track vehicle shows up and says, install. That's our ultimate goal. That's our capability and agility combination that we do. And we've worked with a number of different organizations. Sandia loves us. DOE, they're folks down in Morgantown at the labs. If they've got something they need, they'll call us up and say, we need this. Can you print it? Sure. How soon do you need it? And that's the kind of ability that you don't necessarily get when you're running 500 pieces of the exact same thing over a 5-month period. So it's that ability and agility that makes, I think, what the Navy is looking for a realistic capability.
You know, there was a lot of talk at a Blue Forge Alliance Industry Day where you and I also connected.
Down in Danville, I remember that. It was great.
It was a great event about the concept of interoperability. And I wonder, I know this is a little beyond what we were going to talk about, but you have a unique perspective on interoperability. So I wondered if you could just chat about that a little bit.
Yeah, interoperability, the ability to have the part be usable in a number of different formats and be compatible with a number of different formats. One of the things that I'm doing right now is developing an SBIR proposal where all of us know 3D printing and laser powder bed fusion, but has anybody really looked at it from my perspective with a 31-year career in the fastener industry? And my second job is I'm still the aerospace division manager for the Industrial Fastener Institute. So I've got 40 fastener manufacturers, mostly in the LA basin, that make everything from the titanium bolts that hold together most of the airframes to the bolts that hold together most of the ships. So interoperability and the ability of components that are already installed to work with new components that we might be developing. The SBIR program would look at, okay, we need a thread in this additively manufactured part. Well, what's the best way to do that? If we look at a forged or a cast part, we know that we drill that hole and then we thread tap or cut or form that thread. Well, in an additively manufactured part, you could print those threads, but they may not have the exact form and they may not be as strong as you'd like them, especially when it's a material like the Inconels or the stainlesses that tend to be softer and smear instead of break. Is there a way to put a thread in there that's going to be ultimately stronger? And if we look at different technologies and techniques, I believe that we can develop a specific thread enhancing feature that will make the threads in an additive manufactured part as strong or better than what you'd have in a cast or forged part.
So
interoperability and systems integration is really something that we're looking at with the additive manufacturing capability we have.
That's really great, because we have heard a lot of talk at this event and others that integration is something that the industry needs to start focusing on. And it's not just about the additive part itself, but it's about what happens before and after.
Right.
You know, the design, the materials specifications, as well as the post-processing and those kinds of things. When you think about Vetted Tech's, future, so this SBR is a great thought. What do you think the future could hold for a small company like Vetted Tech?
Well, the new thing that is unique about Vetted Tech is that we are agile and capable. And so the one thing that it holds for us is the ability to, because of my goal, which is when I retire, my veterans will own the company. I'm not looking for outside investors. I'm looking for cash flow and capital that'll come in, that'll keep our liquidity the way it is, but be able to enable us to do the next step. And so we're looking at working with the U.S. government to get an appropriation to take our level to the next level and create the ability to make our facility as good as it possibly can be to meet the current needs, but also to replicate that facility forward deployed in either PACOM or Mississippi to be a fast source for parts when needed. And so that's where I see our future, is through some government help, but mostly our workforce, which is highly skilled and highly capable, getting us to the next level. And we're going to draw on that training facility in Danville to pull veterans out of there into our facilities to keep that promise going.
The Danville facility is exceptional. Question for you. So that's a beautiful vision. I think that's going to help everyone in the country. As a small business, you took a journey, and you've only been at it since 2019, right, in this company?
Yes.
So since 2019, you have managed to pioneer a tech, learn about it, train people, get veterans from wherever they were into this technology, and get all of the certifications that you need to be a functioning business to serve the Department of Defense. Mm-hmm. How did you do that?
An awful lot of hours.
Yeah.
It's when I started the company and I wanted to make something that would give back to veterans, it became a labor of love. Mm-hmm. And when you have a labor of love, hours don't matter. So I spent countless hours going through and developing, and we were fortunate enough to have one of NIST's MEPs locally called TDO, Train, Develop, Optimize, locally, that helped us go through and hone our AS9100D processes and manuals, and they actually helped us on the workflow layout of our facility. So we've leveraged a lot of the available support that's out there. We work with our Apex accelerators on developing our roots into government business. We work with our local MEP. We've worked with Rowan University in developing specific 17.4 materials for them for National Science Foundation grants. So we've tried to support the entire community as best we could. At the same time, never losing our focus on our number one priority being how we develop better systems for the warfighters. And so we work with munitions manufacturers, armament manufacturers. U.S. Department of Energy has been a great source of inspiration for us in building parts that you couldn't machine. And we were able to work with their team to develop a way to do design of experiment in our machines that will give them exactly what they need to the exact tolerance they need.
Well, it's inspiring what you've been able to do, and your passion shines through in everything. Truly, that's one of the reasons I was so drawn to you. Let me ask you one last question. This is what I call the magic wand question. So,
sure.
We're here at the Military Additive Manufacturing Conference, and you are a member of this community. Do you have some words of wisdom or something you'd like to share with this community that could live on?
I think the one thing, and I'll pull out my standards hat and put that on, because I serve on the additive manufacturing standards committees for SAE, both for the powder committee for plastics, but also on the metal additive manufacturing committee. Hector Sandoval from Lockheed, he and I had worked together on a number of projects while I was at Phillips, from the fastening systems on the Orion capsule to other things. And so when I came over to the additive world, he said, hey, would you like to be a member of our committee? I think if we could create an ecosystem that would be based on functionality as well as certification process, working with Mark Shaw at NIAR and developing what we're trying to do with process certification, machine certification, operator certification, getting to an ultimate, okay, we built it this way, the part's going to be good. Part certification is a much easier road to get to when you've got the underlying fundamentals.
The other structures in place.
If I could wave a wand, we'd have those fundamentals in place today and be further down the road.
Well, we're working on it, Mike, but meeting your expectations, we're going to try.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and I wish you luck, and I'm on Team Mike Mowins and Vetted Tech, so let's make 2025 a year to remember.
Kimberly, since the days we partnered up on the NCDMM project for 316 stainless steel fuel sampling nozzles for the helicopter CH-47s, we've been honored members of America Makes and proud to serve and proud to be a part of it, and thank you for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to share our story.
Yeah, thank you.